It was a cold and rainy night in Seattle, Washington, in November 2023. I had been browsing Craigslist for a few days, looking for a good deal on a laptop. I needed a new one for my work, but I didn't have much money to spare. I saw an ad that caught my eye. A brand new MacBook Pro for only $500. It seemed too good to be true, but the seller claimed that he had won it in a raffle and didn't need it. He said he was willing to meet in person and accept cash only. He gave me his phone number and asked me to text him if I was interested. I was skeptical, but I decided to give it a shot. I texted him and asked him where and when he wanted to meet. He replied quickly and said he could meet me at a Starbucks near the University of Washington campus at 9 p.m. He said he would be wearing a blue jacket and a red hat. He also sent me a picture of the laptop and the receipt. It looked legit, so I agreed to meet him. I withdrew $500 for an ATM and drove to the Starbucks. It was dark and the streets were empty. I parked my car and walked to the entrance. I looked around and saw a man sitting at a table near the window. He was wearing a blue jacket and a red hat, just like he said. He had a backpack on the floor next to him. He looked up and saw me. He smiled and waved. I walked over to him and introduced myself. "Hi, I'm Dave. You must be the guy from Craigslist." "Nice to meet you," he said. "Hi, I'm Mike. Yeah, I'm here for the laptop." "Do you have it with you?" I asked. "Of course, it's right here in my backpack." "Let me show you," he said. He reached down and opened his backpack. He pulled out a laptop and placed it on the table. It looked exactly like the one in the picture. He opened it and turned it on. It booted up and showed the Apple logo. He logged in and showed me the desktop. It had all the specs and features that he had advertised. It looked brand new and flawless. "Wow, this is amazing. It's exactly what I need." "Can I try it out?" I asked. "Sure, go ahead. It's yours if you want it. I just need the cash," he said. I took the laptop and checked it out. It worked perfectly. I was impressed. I decided to buy it. I reached into my pocket and took out the envelope with the money. I handed it to him and said, "Here you go. $500 as we agreed." He took the envelope and opened it. He counted the money and smiled. He said, "Thank you very much. It's a pleasure doing business with you. Enjoy your new laptop." He put the money in his backpack and zipped it up. He stood up and said, "Well, I have to go now. Have a nice night." He picked up his backpack and walked to the door. He opened it and stepped outside. He turned around and said, "Oh, by the way, there's something I forgot to tell you." "What is it?" I asked. He grinned and said, "This laptop is stolen, and so is your money, and your car, and your phone, and your wallet, and your identity, and your life. Welcome to the Craigslist trap." He laughed and ran away. I was stunned. I looked at the laptop and saw that it was locked. It asked for a password that I didn't know. I realized that it was a fake. I tried to chase him, but it was too late. He was gone. I ran back to my car and saw that it was gone too. I checked my pockets and saw that they were empty. He had taken everything from me. I was left with nothing but a useless laptop and a broken heart. I screamed and cursed. I felt angry and betrayed. I had been scammed and robbed. I had fallen for the oldest trick in the book. I had been a fool. I had lost everything. I didn't know what to do. In a state of shock and disbelief, I stood there for a moment, trying to gather my thoughts. As the reality sank in, I knew I had to act fast. With trembling hands, I reached for my phone and dialed 911. "911, what's your emergency?" the dispatcher asked. "I've just been robbed," I managed to say, my voice quivering. "Someone tricked me on Craigslist. They took everything, my money, my car, my phone, everything." The dispatcher assured me that help was on the way and instructed me to stay where I was. Within minutes, A police car arrived at the Starbucks. I explained everything to the officers, providing them with as much detail as I could remember about the scammer. An investigation began, but finding the perpetrator wasn't an easy task. They had likely planned this meticulously, leaving behind minimal traces. The authorities took down the information and promised to do everything possible to track down the criminal. Days turned into weeks, and the search continued. I tried to resume my routine, but couldn't shake off the feeling of violation and loss. The police contacted me occasionally for updates, but there seemed to be little progress. Then, after what felt like an eternity, there was a breakthrough. The authorities caught someone matching the description of the scammer in a nearby town. They found evidence linking him to several similar cases. He was arrested and charged accordingly. I was relieved to hear about the arrest, but saddened to learn that most of my belongings were already sold by the perpetrator. The police managed to recover some of the money, but the sentimental items and personal information were irretrievable. Despite the emotional distress and the financial setback, knowing that the scammer was caught and facing consequences brought a sense of closure. I vowed to be more cautious and vigilant in the future, especially when making transactions with strangers online. It was a hard-learned lesson, but I was determined not to let this unfortunate event define my trust in others. I gradually moved on, taking it as a reminder to always prioritize safety and verify thoroughly before engaging in any such transactions again. I had been looking for a car for a long time, but I couldn't afford anything new or fancy. I had to settle for something cheap and reliable, something that would get me from point A to point B without breaking down. That's why I was so excited when I saw an ad on Craigslist for a 2010 Honda Civic with low mileage and a clean title. The seller was asking for only $5,000, which seemed like a steal. I contacted him right away and asked if the car was still available. He replied that it was, and that he was in a hurry to sell it because he was moving out of the country. He gave me his phone number and suggested that we meet at a gas station near his place the next day. I agreed and arranged to meet him at 10 a.m. the following morning. I drove to the gas station in my old clunker, a 1998 Ford Escort that had seen better days. I parked in a spot near the entrance and waited for the seller to show up. I checked my phone and saw that it was already 10:15 a.m. I wondered if he had forgotten about our appointment or if he had changed his mind. I decided to give him a call and see what was going on. "Hello," he answered. "Hi, this is Alex. I'm the guy who wanted to buy the Honda Civic. I'm at the gas station. Where are you?" "Oh, hey, Alex, sorry. I'm running a bit late. I had some trouble with the car. It's nothing serious, just a flat tire. I'm on my way now. I should be there in 10 minutes. "Oh, no problem. I'll wait for you." "Great. Thanks for understanding. See you soon." He hung up and I put my phone back in my pocket. I hoped he was telling the truth and that the car was in good condition. I didn't want to waste my time and money on a lemon. I looked around the gas station and saw that it was busy with customers and cars. I felt a bit nervous and exposed, sitting in my old car with a wad of cash in my backpack. I wished the seller would hurry up and get here. 10 minutes passed, then 20 and 30. I started to get impatient and annoyed. I called him again, but he didn't answer. I left him a voicemail, asking him to call me back as soon as possible. I wondered if he had scammed me or if something had happened to him. I checked the Craigslist ad again and saw that it was still up. I clicked on the contact button and sent him an email, telling him that I was still waiting and that I was getting worried. I hoped he would reply soon. Another 10 minutes went by, and I was about to give up and leave when I saw a car pull up next to mine. It was a silver Honda Civic, just like the one in the ad. I got out of my car and walked towards it, hoping that it was the seller. I saw two men inside the car, one in the driver's seat and one in the passenger's seat. They both looked young and scruffy, with tattoos and piercings. They didn't look like the type of people who would own a Honda Civic. They looked more like the type of people who would steal one. The driver rolled down his window and smiled at me. He had a crooked nose and a scar on his cheek. "Hey, are you Alex?" he asked. "Yes, I am." "Are you the seller?" "That's right." "I'm sorry I'm late. I had some trouble with the car, like I told you on the phone." He gestured to the passenger, who nodded at me. He had a shaved head and a goatee. "This is my friend, Mike. He helped me fix the car. He's also moving out of the country with me, so he came along to say goodbye to the car." He laughed and Mike joined him. It sounded fake and forced. I felt a surge of suspicion and fear. Something was wrong. These guys were not the seller. They were imposters. They had somehow gotten hold of the seller's phone and email and pretended to be him. They had lured me here to rob me or worse. I tried to act calm and casual. I smiled back at them and said, "Oh, I see. Well, I'm glad you made it. Can I see the car?" Sure. Come on, let's take a look." The driver got out of the car and opened the trunk. He took out a folder and handed it to me. "Here are the papers. The title, the registration, the insurance, everything. It's all in order. You can check them out." I took the folder and opened it. I saw a bunch of documents that looked official and legitimate. I scanned them quickly and saw that they matched the car's description and the seller's name. They looked real, but I knew they were fake. They had probably forged them or stolen them from the real seller. I pretended to be impressed and said, "Wow, this looks great. Everything seems to be in order." "Of course it is. I told you, it's a great deal. You won't find a better car for this price." He smiled again and motioned me to follow him. He walked around the car and opened the driver's door. "Come on, hop in. Let's take it for a spin. You'll love how it drives." I hesitated. I didn't want to get in the car with him. I wanted to get away from him. But I didn't want to show him that I was scared or suspicious. I wanted to play alone until I found a way to escape. I nodded and said, "Oh, sure. Let's go for a ride." I walked towards the car and got in the driver's seat. The driver got in the passenger seat, and Mike got in the back seat. I felt trapped and surrounded. I wish I had brought someone with me, or told someone where I was going. I put the key in the ignition and started the car. It roared to life and sounded smooth and powerful. I had to admit, it was a nice car. Too bad it was stolen. The driver told me to drive out of the gas station and onto the road. He gave me directions and told me to turn left and right. He acted like he was showing me the features of the car, but I knew he was leading me to a secluded spot where he could rob me or worse. I tried to think of a way to get out of this situation. I thought about calling the police, but I didn't have my phone with me. I had left it in my old car, along with my backpack and my cash. I cursed myself for being so careless and stupid. I thought about crashing the car, but I didn't want to hurt myself or anyone else. I thought about jumping out of the car, but I didn't think I could do it without getting caught or injured. I thought about fighting back, but I was outnumbered and outmatched. These guys were bigger and stronger than me, and they probably had weapons. I felt hopeless and helpless. I didn't know what to do. I wish I had never seen that ad on Craigslist. I wish I had never contacted the seller. I wish I had never agreed to meet him. I wish I had never come here. I drove for about 15 minutes, following the driver's instructions. He told me to turn into a dirt road that led to a wooded area. He said it was a shortcut to his place. I knew it was a lie. He was taking me to a trap. I slowed down and looked for a way to escape. I saw a sign that said, "No trespassing." I saw a fence that blocked the road. I saw a gate that was locked. I saw a camera that was watching us. I realized that we had entered a private property. I realized that this was not a random spot. I realized that this was their hideout. I realized that I was doomed. The driver told me to stop the car and park it near a shed. He said we had arrived. He said we could finish a deal. He said he would give me the keys and the papers. He said he would take the money and leave. He lied. As soon as I stopped the car and turned off the engine, he hit me on the back of the head with something hard and heavy. I felt a sharp pain and a loud noise. I felt blood and sweat. I felt dizzy and nauseous. I felt unconscious. I don't know how long I was out. When I woke up, I was lying on the ground next to the car. I was bleeding and bruised. I was cold and thirsty. I was alone and scared. I looked around and saw that the car was empty. The driver and Mike were gone. So was my old car, my backpack, and my cash. They had taken everything. They had left me nothing. I tried to get up, but I was too weak and hurt. I tried to call for help, but I had no voice and no phone. I tried to cry, but I had no tears and no hope. I mustered all my strength and crawled towards the road. It took me a while, but eventually I reached the main road and managed to flag down a passing car. The driver stopped and called emergency services for me. The police arrived shortly after, and I recounted every detail I could remember about the incident. They took me to the hospital for medical treatment and started an investigation based on the information I provided. It was a long and arduous process. They tracked the phone number, email address, and any other possible leads left by the perpetrators. They also collected evidence from the scene. Despite the challenges, the authorities persisted in their efforts to find those responsible. Weeks turned into months, and finally, there was a breakthrough. The police managed to trace the individuals involved in the scam and robbery. They were apprehended and brought to justice. During the trial, I testified against them, recounting the harrowing experience I had endured. The court proceedings revealed a network of criminals involved in similar fraudulent schemes. The perpetrators were found guilty of multiple charges, including theft, assault, and fraud. They were sentenced to serve time in prison and were ordered to compensate for the damages caused. Although the ordeal had left me shaken and wary, I found solace in knowing that justice had been served. The incident served as a cautionary tale for me and others, emphasizing the importance of vigilance and safety measures, especially in online transactions and meetings with strangers. Recovering from the physical and emotional trauma was a slow process, but with support from friends, family, and counseling, I gradually regained a sense of security. I became more cautious in my dealings, ensuring to verify identities and locations before engaging in any transactions. While the scars from that fateful encounter remained, I emerged stronger, armed with the wisdom gained from a terrifying experience. It taught me to prioritize safety and diligence in every aspect of life, cherishing the value of trust, but always verifying and staying vigilant in the face of potential threats. I had always wanted to own a smartphone, but I never had enough money to buy one. I had a simple flip phone that barely worked, and I was envious of my friends who had the latest models of iPhones and Samsungs. They could do so many things with their phones, like browsing the internet, playing games, taking photos, and watching videos. I felt left out and outdated. That's why I was so happy when I saw an ad on Facebook for a smartphone at a very low price. It was a Samsung Galaxy S20, one of the newest and most advanced phones on the market. The seller claimed that he had won it in a raffle, but he already had an iPhone, so he didn't need it. He said he was willing to sell it for only $300, which was a fraction of its original price. He said he was in a hurry to get rid of it, so he offered to meet me in person and hand it over to me. I thought it was too good to be true, but I couldn't resist the temptation. I contacted him right away and asked if the phone was still available. He replied that it was, and that he could meet me the next day at a coffee shop near my place. He gave me his name and phone number and told me to call him when I got there. I agreed and arranged to meet him at 2 p.m. the following afternoon. I withdrew $300 from my bank account and put it in my wallet. I was so excited that I could barely sleep that night. I dreamed of having a smartphone and all the things I could do with it. The next day, I got ready and left my house. I took the bus to the coffee shop and arrived there at 1:45 p.m. I looked around and saw that it was crowded with people and cars. I felt a bit nervous and anxious. but also eager and hopeful. I checked my phone and saw that I had a text message from the seller. He said he was already there and that he was sitting at a table near the window. He said he was wearing a blue shirt and a black cap. He said he had the phone with him and that he was waiting for me. I replied that I was on my way and that I would be there in a few minutes. I walked towards the coffee shop and looked for the seller. I saw a man who matched his description, sitting at a table with a white box on it. He saw me and waved at me. He smiled and gestured me to join him. He looked friendly and trustworthy. I walked towards him and greeted him. He greeted me back and introduced himself as Dave. He asked me if I was the buyer, and I said yes. He asked me if I had the money, and I said yes. He asked me if I wanted to see the phone, and I said yes. He opened the box and took out the phone. It was a Samsung Galaxy S20, just like he had advertised. It looked new and shiny, with no scratches or dents. It had a black case and a screen protector. It had a charger and a pair of earphones. It looked perfect. He handed it to me and told me to check it out. He said it was unlocked and ready to use. He said it had all the features and functions that I wanted. He said it was a great deal and that I would regret it. I took the phone and turned it on. It booted up quickly and smoothly. It had a bright and clear display. It had a fast and responsive touch screen. It had a powerful and long-lasting battery. It had a high-quality and versatile camera. It had a large and secure storage. It had a sleek and elegant design. It was amazing. I was impressed and delighted. I thanked him and told him that I loved it. He smiled and said he was glad to hear that. He asked me if I was ready to buy it, and I said yes. He asked me for the money, and I said yes. I opened my wallet and took out the $300. I handed it to him, and he counted it. He nodded and said it was all there. He put the money in his pocket and gave me the box. He said it was all mine. He said he hoped I enjoyed it. He said he had to go. He said goodbye and got up. He walked away and left the coffee shop. I watched him go and felt a surge of happiness and gratitude. I had just bought a smartphone, a Samsung Galaxy S20, for only $300. I had just made the best purchase of my life. I had just fulfilled my dream. I put the phone and the box in my backpack and got up. I decided to go home and set up the phone. I wanted to try out all the features and functions. I wanted to show it off to my friends and family. I wanted to have fun and explore. I walked out of the coffee shop and headed to the bus stop. I was humming and smiling. I was in a good mood and nothing could ruin it. Also, I thought, as soon as I reached the bus stop, I saw 2 police officers standing there. They were wearing uniforms and badges. They had guns and handcuffs. They looked serious and stern. They saw me and approached me. They asked me for my name and ID. I gave them my name and showed them my ID. They asked me where I was coming from and where I was going. I told them I was coming from the coffee shop and that I was going home. They asked me what I had in my backpack. I told them I had a phone in a box. They asked me to show them. I opened my backpack and showed them. They took the phone and the box from me and examined them. They looked at the phone and saw that it was a Samsung Galaxy S20. They looked at the box and saw that it had a barcode and a serial number. They scanned the barcode and the serial number with their devices. They frowned and shook their heads. They looked at me and said, "Sir, we have some bad news for you. This phone is stolen. It was reported missing 2 days ago by its rightful owner. It was traced to this location by its GPS. It is evidence of a crime. We have to confiscate it and take you to the station for questioning. You are under arrest." I was shocked and confused. I didn't understand what they were saying. I didn't believe what they were saying. I tried to explain and protest. I told them I had just bought the phone from a guy named Dave. I told them he had sold it to me for $300. I told them he had given me the papers and the keys. I told them he had said it was his and that he had won it in a raffle. I told them it was a mistake and that I was innocent. It didn't listen and didn't care. It said I was lying and that I was guilty. It said I was involved in a theft and a fraud. It said I had lost my money and my phone. It said I had no proof and no rights. It said I had to come with them and face the consequences. They grabbed me and handcuffed me. They pushed me and dragged me. They put me in their car and drove me away. They took me to the station and locked me up. They interrogated me and accused me. They threatened me and pressured me. They treated me like a criminal and a fool. I was scared and angry. I was sad and sorry. I was betrayed and cheated. I was a victim and a loser. I wished I had never seen that ad on Facebook. I wished I had never contacted the seller. I wished I had never agreed to meet him. I wish I had never bought the phone. The interrogation was intense, and the police were adamant that the phone was stolen property. Despite my protests and attempts to explain my side, they remained skeptical. However, they decided to delve deeper into the matter, initiating an investigation to trace the real source of the stolen phone. After thorough probing and using various investigative methods, they managed to track down the actual criminals. It turned out that the man I thought was Dave was part of a sophisticated phone theft ring. They had been using various tactics to sell stolen phones to unsuspecting buyers like me, operating under false identities and fabricating stories to offload their illicit goods. With solid evidence in hand, the police apprehended the real perpetrators involved in the crime. They were brought to trial, and justice prevailed as they were held accountable for their illegal activities. In the meantime, during the investigation, the true owner of the Samsung Galaxy S20 was identified. The phone was returned to its rightful owner, along with a heartfelt apology for the inconvenience caused. As for me, after the truth came to light, the authorities recognized that I was indeed an innocent victim in this whole ordeal. They apologized for the misunderstanding and the distress I had undergone. Fortunately, the legal system recognized my innocence, and I was cleared of any wrongdoing. Although the incident was distressing and challenging, it served as a lesson for me to be more cautious and vigilant when making purchases, especially in such transactions involving expensive items from unknown sources. I was grateful for the resolution, the return of the phone to its rightful owner, and most importantly, for being exonerated from the false accusations. It was a tough experience, but it taught me to be more discerning and cautious in my future dealings, ensuring I wouldn't fall victim to such scams again. I had bought a new laptop a few months ago, and I decided to sell my old one online. It was a Dell Inspiron, a decent model, but nothing too fancy. It had some scratches and dents, but it worked fine. I thought I could get some money for it. Maybe $200 or $300. I posted an ad on Craigslist describing the laptop and its condition. I also uploaded some photos of it, showing its features and flaws. I asked for $250, but I said I was open to negotiation. I gave my email and phone number and waited for someone to contact me. I didn't have to wait long. The next day, I got a text message from a guy who said he was interested in buying the laptop. He said his name was Jake and that he lived in Orlando, Florida. He said he liked the laptop and that he was willing to pay $250 for it. He said he could meet me in person and pay me in cash. I was happy and relieved. I had found a buyer, and he seemed nice and honest. I agreed to meet him and asked him where and when he wanted to meet. He suggested that we meet at a park near his place at 4 p.m. the following day. He said it was a safe and public place and that he would bring the money with him. I agreed and arranged to meet him at the park. I packed the laptop in a bag and got ready to go. I was looking forward to selling the laptop and getting some extra cash. I hoped everything would go smoothly and easily. The next day, I drove to the park and arrived there at 3:45 p.m. I looked around and saw that it was a nice and peaceful place. It had some trees and benches, a playground and a fountain. It had some people and cars, but not too many. It seemed like a good spot to make the deal. I parked my car and got out. I took the bag with the laptop and walked towards the fountain. I checked my phone and saw that I had a text message from Jake. He said he was already there and that he was sitting on a bench near the fountain. He said he was wearing a red shirt and a black hat. He said he had the money with him and that he was waiting for me. I replied that I was on my way and that I would be there in a few minutes. I walked towards the fountain and looked for Jake. I saw a man who matched his description, sitting on a bench with a backpack on it. He saw me and waved at me. He smiled and gestured me to join him. He looked friendly and trustworthy. I walked towards him and greeted him. He greeted me back and introduced himself as Jake. He asked me if I was the seller, and I said yes. He asked me if I had the laptop, and I said yes. He asked me to show him. I opened the bag and took out the laptop. I handed it to him and told him to check it out. He said he would and took the laptop from me. He opened it and turned it on. He looked at the screen and the keyboard. He seemed satisfied and impressed. He handed the laptop back to me and said, "This is a nice laptop. It's exactly what I wanted. I'm ready to buy it." I smiled and said, "Great. I'm glad you like it. Do you have the money?" He nodded and said, "Yes, I do. It's in my backpack. Let me get it for you." He reached for his backpack and opened it. He took out something from it and showed it to me. It was not money. It was a gun. He pointed the gun at me and said, "Give me the laptop. Now." I was shocked and scared. I didn't know what to do. I tried to reason and plead. I said, "What are you doing? Why are you doing this? This is not fair. This is not right. Please don't do this. Please don't hurt me." He didn't listen and didn't care. He said, "Shut up and give me the laptop, or I'll shoot you. I don't care about you. I don't care about fair. I don't care about right. I only care about the laptop. It's mine now. Give it to me. Now." He pressed the gun against my chest and pushed me. He grabbed the laptop from me and put it in his backpack. He zipped it up and slung it over his shoulder. He said, "Thanks for the laptop. It's a nice laptop. Too bad you won't get to use it anymore." He laughed and turned around. He started to run away. He said, "Bye, sucker. Have a nice day." He ran towards his car, which was parked nearby. He got in and started the engine. He was about to drive away. But before he did, he rolled down his window and looked at me. He smiled and said, "Oh, one more thing." He raised his gun and fired at me. He shot me in the leg. He said, "That's for trying to sell me a laptop. That's for wasting my time. That's for making me come here. That's for being a fool." He laughed and drove away. Shocked and in excruciating pain, I collapsed to the ground, clutching my bleeding leg. I fumbled for my phone, hands shaking as I dialed 911. Tears streamed down my face as I recounted the terrifying ordeal to the dispatcher, desperately hoping for help to arrive soon. The police rushed to the scene, an ambulance following closely behind. They tended to my wound and gathered every detail I could remember about the assailant. It was a blur of fear and disbelief as they took statements, collected evidence, and assured me that they would do everything in their power to find the criminal. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into a painstaking investigation. The police scoured through surveillance footage, tracked leads, and tirelessly followed up on any information that could lead to the perpetrator. There were moments of frustration and despair, wondering if justice would ever prevail. But then, after a prolonged search, a breakthrough came. The authorities identified a suspect matching the description I provided. With diligent police work, they apprehended him. He was found in possession of stolen goods, including the laptop he had forcefully taken from me. The legal system took its course, and the perpetrator faced the consequences of his actions. He was charged and prosecuted for armed robbery, assault, and other related crimes. Though the trial was emotionally taxing, knowing that he was held accountable for his deeds brought some semblance of closure. As I recovered from my physical injuries, the scars from that traumatic incident lingered. However, I found solace in the fact that justice was served. It was a stark reminder of the dangers lurking behind seemingly routine transactions, urging me and others to be more cautious and vigilant in our dealings, especially in the realm of online sales. Though the experience was harrowing, it reinforced my belief in the resilience of the human spirit. With the support of loved ones and the dedication of law enforcement, I emerged stronger, determined not to let the actions of one individual overshadow the goodness that exists in the world.